Ladies and gentlemen, as someone that is facing some homelessness and some financial issues, I'm houseless and I'm homeless. I live in hotels and hostels until I fix my financial problems. But when I'm homeless, I don't sit out in the park, smoke weed, do drugs, or just not do anything. So we at Collect Pond Park, and down the street is the Bowery Mission. The Bowery Mission is right there on the corner. If you guys don't know what about the Bowery Mission, a couple of decades ago, or let's say two decades ago, a Chinese homeless billionaire came to New York and wanted to do something nice for the homeless. But there were a bunch of city officials and a bunch of city activists and a bunch of city 501c3 people from the Bowery Mission that explained to this millionaire that this millionaire had a plan. His plan was to feed the homeless and give each and every one $200 each. But you know what the city, you know what the Mission Bowery told this billionaire? That all homeless people in New York City do drugs and alcohol. Do not give it to them, give it to us, the Bowery Mission. So this is why there was a controversy behind the Bowery Mission, because they received a donation, and now that donation, they won't disclose how much the billionaire gave them, but they did. But just keep that in mind, how city officials, 501c3 personnel, degrade. I mean, when I use the word degrade, I mean literally told another person from a different country that our people do not know how to behave. Our people do not know how to manage money. Our people just do drugs and alcohol. That's what you told the Chinese billionaire. I would never forget that story. But as I'm sitting here looking for food, and obviously I'm not going to get that because I can't overdraft in this area, because this is a very fancy and very expensive area. So I'm sitting here and I'm smelling all types of unwanted smells. And if that's not cannabis that I'm smelling, that's some shit coming from over there. And mind you, there's a lot of homeless in this park. And right down the street is the Bowery Mission. What is their mission statement? To help those get out of homelessness. But they don't. We all know that the Bowery Mission doesn't help people because they help themselves, just like you helped yourself to all that money a couple of decades ago when that Chinese billionaire came here and you told the national world that the homeless in New York City only do drugs and alcohol. That's a false statement. But is it? Because right now I'm smelling all types of shit. There's a lot of homelessness in this park, bro. And I smell all types of... Ugh. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm walking around trying to see if I can overdraft with some breakfast. And I came across the Bowery Mission. I said, oh, you crooked motherfuckers. I honestly don't like the Bowery Mission. What they did that year, when that Chinese man came, you not only disgraced New York, you put New York to shame. By telling people outside of New York that that's what all us homeless people do. Is do drugs and alcohol. I don't do drugs. I might drink on occasionally from time to time, but I ain't no alcoholic. I got self-control over myself. And this is why I keep telling everyone in my audience, don't believe these 501c3 organizations, because they're not really here to help you. And if they're here to help you, guess what happens? Just like in Portrait, just with any other facility that I worked for in the past. They hire the homeless individuals for these positions, and those individuals sometimes take things and they power and their position to the next level. They feel like they got authority to tell another homeless person what to do. You clearly you do not. You did to do a job. Your job is to inform them about some information, but you're not supposed to police anyone. Well, that's what the Bowery Mission does. Policed. Just like they policed when that Chinese man wanted to feed all those homeless people in Central Park that year. I think it was year 2012 or 2013. So keep that in mind. It happened over a decade ago. But it would never leave my mind, because the statement they made was homeless people only do drugs and alcohol. It's not best to give them the money. It's no. Let them choose to destroy their own lives. But they took the donations for themselves. Bowery Mission took the donations for themselves. If anybody remember that article, everybody in the city was literally crushing the shit out of Bowery Mission. You guys are a bunch of scams. You guys don't care about the homeless, because they really don't. So with that said, the only reason why I'm making this story is because sometimes that statement about homeless people just doing drugs and alcohol might be necessarily true or not. It might be true in half of the situations. Because right now, I'm smelling all types of shit. I'm sitting right there, taking a break, and I'm smelling all types of shit coming in my way. And that's not marijuana that I'm smelling either. That's not marijuana that I was smelling a little while ago. You got all these courthouses and all these surveillance cameras. Where's the police? Because they don't care about the homeless. Like I said, the mayor doesn't want to tackle the homeless issue. Doesn't want to do anything about the homeless issue. Don't want to have, yeah. His hands up. Nope. So with that said, everyone, not all homeless people are doing bad things. Because right now, this homeless person right now that you're talking to on this live stream, yes, I am houseless. I live in a hotel. I have a job. I pay my rent. I don't do anything stupid. Am I a drug addict too? Bowery Mission? Or the city of New York? Am I a drug addict as well? I would never forget that article. I would never forget the time that a Chinese billionaire tried to do something nice. But American New Yorkers at the time said, no, all these homeless people do drugs and alcohol. Bad idea. Give us the money instead. Yeah, give us the money. Right, Bowery Mission? You told. So with that said, don't trust the Bowery Mission. They're not very good people, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It's not defamation. I know what you do all the time. It's not nice that you favor some people but favor others. You favor more of the convicts than the people that actually do good. See, that's the problem with this place. They got people. Yeah, it's called I Got People. So if they know someone, like, yo, what's up, bro? Yo, come in. They favor sometimes. Yes, they do. But keep this in mind. That's who stays at that mission over there. All these folks, especially in this area. Got a one woman, she's like 70, you look like she's 70 years old. And she's out here sleeping on the fucking park bench? Come on, New York City. That's someone's grandmother. Seriously? But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't been paying attention to my channel, NYCHA, the biggest housing of property management in New York City, it's about to evict 12,000 people from their homes because they miscalculated their own budget for the vouchers for the next 4.5-5 years. So if you haven't been paying attention to NYCHA's ongoing situation, 12,000 people are affected. And mind you, they are going to relocate some. You just heard the word, some. They're not going to relocate everyone. They're only going to relocate those that are deemed important. Keep that in mind. The rest of you, you're going to be out on these streets. Because they mind you, it's not my words. It's their words from their own mouth. We are going to house and relocate some. But everyone else is on their own. So with that said, everyone, being homeless in New York City is getting more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. So with that said, I got about 45 minutes before my appointment. Just trying to kill some time. I didn't find breakfast because we couldn't find a place to overdraft. So, and I just had to like pay my storage unit. Yeah, because Bill sent me some funds. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta pay for storage. Like I said, $70 a month, everybody. $70 fucking dollars a month. It's like expensive for me to keep my other property safe. So with that said, everyone, as a houseless YouTuber, someone that's actually know the streets better and historic of New York City and born here. But mind you, worked in very different states, moved out of New York, came back to New York, and all I see is disappointment. So with that said, everyone, this is why we don't come to Manhattan. There's too much problems in this island. It's just too many. Just too many. Too much homelessness. Look at this. There's so much homelessness in this fucking park, in this island alone. It's not fair. People deserve housing. I understand. People screwed up their own lives. People do drugs and alcohol, and they... sorry, my stomach's hurting. But not all of us are doing what everyone else is doing. Sitting in the park, killing time to go back into the shelter. This is what they're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, when the shelter kicks you out at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're at this park. You're at this park until what, 1:30, 2 o'clock? You go back in, you check in before 3 o'clock. Therefore, you don't have time to go look for a job or have a job or get a job. They want you to keep checking back in if you want to keep your bed. Oh, here comes the police officers. Are they going to do something? They're probably not. Yeah, they're probably not going to do anything. They're just walking through. Yeah. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, I would never be a police officer in New York City. I'd rather be a police officer in Madison, Wisconsin than New York City. But like I said before, these folks over here are just killing time until about 1:30, 2 o'clock until they got to check back into the mission. That's not educating and giving a person a chance to work or find work during the day. That means that person has to find some type of employment from 6 in the morning until 12 in the afternoon. And then they're going to go right back into the shelter at 2 o'clock to check in just to keep their bed. That's not worth it, man. I'd rather sleep outside and have 2 jobs and have money in my pocket. So I have money for a hotel. So I can spend money on the hotel and stay and take a shower when I want to. Check out when I want to. But no, the shelter kicks you at 5:30 in the morning. They kick people out at 5:30 in the morning. They know half these people don't got nowhere to go. But they at the park waiting to kill time so they can go right back into the shelter, take bullshit for their bed and get that ham sandwich and what is that, baked beans? Whatever they serve for dinner in the shelter. Baked beans these days and ham sandwiches. Have you realized people don't eat pork and some people don't eat pork? But that's what they serve. So with that said, everyone, I'm your host, ThePandaPhotographer, and I'm homeless, and I've been through this shelter system. And it's not a glorious and not a pretty one. It never was. And the Bowery Mission is one of those non-pretty ones that are always hated for what they did in 2013. I could be wrong. It could have been 2011. But still, it doesn't matter, man. That happened when people are supposed to say, you know what? I love when someone comes to my country and wants to help our homeless situation. But to say that all homeless do drugs and alcohol, no, that was the wrong statement. That woman's homeless. Look at it. Damn, man, look at this. This is like terrifying. Look. Everyone in this park is homeless, and mind you, what I was smelling a little while ago, I was like, you know what? I gotta make a video about this. This is annoying. They do this in a public park? You smoke drugs in a public park? Really? Like I said earlier, maybe the statement is true. Half of it is true. Maybe some homeless people just don't give a fuck. They want to do drugs and alcohol. But with that said, everyone, I'm never going to be like that. Never. I'm never going to give in to no fucking drugs and no alcohol. That's bullshit. But with that said, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I'm trying to sit here and you got to smell that shit. whatever they smoking. And that's not weed they smoking. I'm telling you, that's not weed. That's that K2 shit or whatever. That is not weed. Oh my panda. So with that said, everyone, I'm just trying to kill time for my appointment. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for understanding. If you want support, subscribe, like, and share. That's why I don't like Manhattan. That most of the homeless is here. Oh, stomach is killing me still. Yeah, my stomach still bothers me. I get this every morning because if you guys are not aware, I had stomach surgery in January to remove some stomach cancer GIST. I had GIST, G-I-S-T. Yeah. And like, I'm not feeling good after that. I'm having complications. So, I do apologize. But yeah, we gotta go to the courthouse. That's why I brought minimum and all my documents. Ooh, brought my thumb drives and everything.